Hey everyone, welcome to Call Camp. We are definitely excited to jump on with you guys. As you know, Steve Richard is obviously not here, but he sends his best to everyone. So since he couldn't make this month, we decided to switch it up a bit. We're joined by a panel of proven sales and marketing leaders, and we're going to discuss how they're able to achieve success in their careers. Before I introduce everyone, I want to give a quick shout out to this month's sponsor, that's Ambition. If you're not familiar with Ambition, they provide enterprise sales teams with a platform to drive change through their sales, through sales coaching. So they do things like goals management, scorecards, sales contests, plus they have a bunch of coaching and management features. If you want to check them out, go to ambition.com. And to start introducing the panelists, let's start with actually the VP of sales over at Ambition, Chad. So Chad, just say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody.
So Chad is joining us from Georgia, I believe, correct?
I'm actually in Chattanooga this week. I'm based in Atlanta, but at the headquarters in Chattanooga.
Awesome. Joining us from Tennessee. Next, we have Pleasant Rich, who is the DC Regional VP of Sales for Outreach.io.
Hi, everyone.
Following her, we have Jen Spencer, the VP of Sales and Marketing at SmartBug Media.
Hey, everybody.
And then last but not least, we have Tami, who is a co-founder plus sales marketing for 31 South.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. So as always, guys, if you have questions, we've got Sam over here on the ExecVision side monitoring both Twitter and the GoToWebinar chat. So feel free to drop a question directly in chat or tweet at us. Use the hashtag CallCamp so that we can find everything. You can also tweet directly at ExecVision.io and we'll be alerted to that as well. But normally I'm monitoring, so don't use my personal Twitter handle. I know a handful of you guys have started doing that to jump the line, and we see it. But I won't be monitoring this week, so use the ExecVision Twitter profile. All right, so like I said, we're talking about how people have become successful in their careers. You know, what are the little tips and tricks that they found to do? And let's start with how to stay inspired in your sales career. You know, sales can be a grind. You've got quarters that are really good, quarters that are really rough. We're in the summer, so depending on what you're selling, I know for ExecVision, selling to salespeople, the summer can be a grind. So what gets you out of bed? That's what I want to know. And Chad, I'll let you kick this one off and kind of give an overview of how do you keep yourself inspired as well as keep your team inspired during times where it's a little bit harder.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, it all comes down to surrounding yourself with a good team and a good group of people at your company, right? So it's who you like working with, who you like working for. But to me, it's making sure that what gets me inspired is making sure that the team has what they need to be successful. I always tell people whether I inherit them by taking over a role or when I hire somebody is that one day I want to get you to a point that you're going to take over my role. Because at that point, that means I've done my job and I've done it very successful, but I've also helped them further their career. So that really gets me inspired on a daily basis to wake up and train and coach and get the team really, jazzed about what they're doing. So I would say, that it's the team you build around you that inspires me, as well as what you're actually out there selling. You got to be passionate about what you sell.
Yeah, that's really, really good. Pleasant, what is your take on that?
I totally agree, and I think about a couple of different things too, because I actually sold for Outreach before I started managing one of their teams. So a couple of things that I think about. Our company is a very fast growth company, and it's constantly changing. And we always say that everything for us is like a 3x. So what typically would take 3 times longer in one company happens in a small chunk. So it's a lot for some people. And what we like to see is where you've come, and I like to remind people and take a look back of, look how far you've come, because it really is inspiring to see in such a short amount of time growth and change and goals that you've hit and how much better selling skills have become. And so, even listening to calls 6 months ago, or, how deals that you've won that you wouldn't have won 6 months ago because of the crafts that you perfected is a really really cool thing to sit back and listen to. And so I love things like that on my team. I love just being a seller. You know, obviously we're inspired by making money, and I think everybody loves to make money. And for me, I think that it's really exciting having the ability to give back to people. And, you know, I was actually a teacher before, which teaching is giving back your whole life, you know, and I have so much respect for them, but it's a really nice thing now to be able to give to others in a different way, and having salespeople be really successful and to be able to give to their families and to enable them to do the same types and to have that same capabilities. That for me is also a really cool inspiration.
Yeah, that's good. Jen, I'm going to pass it over to you now. How has your inspiration changed over your career from when you were just starting off to now as a VP?
Sure. So actually, I started my career as a high school English and theater arts teacher. So
wow.
I use that background every day. That background and my parenting background every day. So I think the way things have changed, I think what's remained constant is just wanting to win. I've always been, it's ingrained in me, right? Probably in all of us. Like, I want to win every game I play, even if the stakes are nothing. So I think that's just kind of part of being like the culture of sales. But as I've matured in my role, as I've, you know, grown and taking over marketing departments, sales departments, what inspires me now are our customers' true successes, and getting to see some of the impact that we're making on our customers, you know, because we're an agency, we're building pipeline, revenue, brand awareness for our clients. Getting to see those results is so inspiring to us, because it means that we're doing something that's helping and it's working, but it also feeds new revenue as well, because then it's a story that we can tell. So when you get back on another sales call and everyone wants to know, you know, like, who have you helped that looks like me? We're special. To be able to have those stories, it's really invigorating. So I love hearing directly from customers how we're impacting their business.
Yeah, that's really good. Tami, what about you?
Well, I think as a first-time founder, I'm really inspired by truly just making an impact. This is the first go-round. There's no other option but to get out of bed and bounce into work every single morning to try and set the standard for where we are going and create those benchmarks at the first go-round and really where we go. And I think whether you're starting a new company or a new role, I think it's truly so important to celebrate even the smallest wins. We say it as a cliche now that the small wins are really important, but it is so important for someone's morale, especially when you are selling and you're hearing a lot of no's, that when you do get even a small yes, to enjoy those, reflect on what worked, why it worked, and to cultivate that sort of culture in the company and the team, to understand that whether it is a $1 million deal or a $10 deal per se, it's just as important to be able to have that same work ethic, whatever level you are selling at, and to keep that mindful. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just quickly, I'm going to check in with Sam and see if the audience has any questions. Do we have anything yet? No? Guys, if you have any questions or comments, feel free, like I said, drop them on Twitter, drop them into the GoToWebinar, and Sam will let us know. So I want to move on. Let's talk about morning rituals. I know it's a big thing for, you know, I've seen a lot of posts on LinkedIn, what people do in the morning to be, you know, highly successful. What do you guys think? Is it something that you do personally? Does it work? Is it something that you're like, I don't know, I'm pretty successful and I have a great night ritual, or maybe you don't have a ritual at all? You know, Pleasant, do you want to kick this one off?
So I have a hard time with this because I am not a morning person at all. I have a really hard time sleeping, so I'm usually up to like 1:30 in the morning, and it's usually working, which is probably not the best thing because I have kids myself, so I put them to bed and I'm like, I can pull out my laptop and do some more work. So I that's kind of my nightly ritual. So my mornings when I wake up, since I don't love it, I have to start out with something that makes me happy every single morning. And so it's not picking up my phone. It's not it's not starting my day out looking with emails. Like, I know people that roll out of bed and like start looking at emails first thing in the morning. I don't touch it. So I start out and I have my routine. I have a deck outside that I go out, I take my coffee, and I have to clear my head first thing in the morning and wake myself up and play with my dog and get in a really happy spot. And so for me, that puts me in the mindset of getting out of my fog. It also is really important, I think, self-awareness of your strengths and your weaknesses and where you tend to be distracted the most during the day and prioritize. I think as a seller, or as a manager, as a person in general, if you're not self-aware, you're not going to be the most productive in any role that you're at. And so for myself, I know what is the most important things that I need to get done during the day, and I block out my time when I know I'm not going to be distracted the most. Like for my team, one-on-ones, they're sacred. We have that time, we have to spend it. We're going either through pipeline or we're going through coaching. And that's sacred time for us, because if we don't have it, we lose track, and we don't have the conversations we need to. So when I found that I was scheduling them in the afternoon, they would get, fires would come up and things would happen. So those are my top priorities in the morning. Everything that I need to happen in the morning, those are my morning rituals, my most sacred things. So it's prioritizing based on what you need to get done. That's my morning rituals, my top stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. So to recap that, guys, it's prioritizing, making sure that you have your day figured out early in the morning, starting your morning at 1:30 a.m. I'm just kidding, but that is really, really early in the morning. Yeah, that's awesome. Chad, I'm going to push this one over to you now. What does your morning look like?
Yes, so I'm a little different because I'm actually a morning person. So I would love to say I get up in the morning and I run and get exercise. I actually do that at night. And so because I'm usually not a night person, so that gets me energized the night of, so I can actually get some more work done the night before to prep, here's what I want to do the next day. And so in the morning when I wake up, and I wake up every morning like clockwork at 5 o'clock, it's just the way I am, and I get my best work done there because I recap what I did the night before and the day before and start really thinking about, okay, what do I want to enhance upon what I thought about last night for today? And that could be anything from what could we do better in deals? What can I do from a coaching standpoint? Because like Pleasant mentioned, coaching and one-on-one with AEs is extremely, extremely important. And I don't push those. I don't push those on a weekly basis. I keep what I need to have there, but what can we really do to make that day very special? And it's interesting because my wife and I both work from home. So when I'm in town, my office is the kitchen table because my wife has squatters' rights in the office because she worked at home before I did. So every morning when I wake up, we wake up at the same time, and I ask her, what do you have on your agenda for today? Like, what do you want to accomplish? And she does that back to me as well. And we hold each other accountable at the end of the day. So we actually do a recap of what we're doing to say, did we accomplish what we said we were going to accomplish? And that just really helps us keep that energy going, that, I'm holding myself accountable, but I have other people holding me accountable as well, even that I don't work with, but I live with. And so it's just those type of things that really, it's what I do on a daily basis. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, I'm going to pass this one over to Tami. Tami, what's your morning ritual if you have one?
Yeah, I do. And I have really established the morning ritual based on, we surround ourselves with a solid team in our professional lives, and I think we don't necessarily do that in our personal lives. And I found this to be incredibly necessary in what I'm doing and the pace I'm going at every single day, that I needed to surround myself with a personal sort of team, if you think about it. And I wake up 5 o'clock, quite early as well, and I hit the gym. I am not an evening person. I cannot work out in the evening. Usually something pops up. So I try and get it out quite early, and my brain also doesn't quite function at that point to know what I'm putting myself through. So I'll hit the gym, and I have a trainer about 3 times a week who will really push me physically, and it really kickstarts my brain to thinking of different things that I necessarily wouldn't think about, and stretches that creativity as well. For me, that's what works best. From the gym, I will just walk cool down, and that's when I'm on social media and I'm checking in, just high level, looking at emails. It's not in a stressed situation, but I'm really cooling down from a tough workout. And I love to respond. I love to check in on different platforms and consume what's happened overnight. And then I'll head over to the office and connect with the team, and we'll get the day started from there. But really have found that to kickstart creativity and be surrounded by this, I need a good workout in the morning to push myself, and I'll try and throw in a chiropractic session every now and then to really get me to not wear my shoulders as earrings all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jen, what about you?
Man, I feel like a slacker. Seriously. I'm not a morning person at all. I begrudgingly get out of bed. I'm like, oh man, not a morning person. So, but usually I am like first checking on the news, like what's happened in the world. And it's best I don't interact with anybody until I have a cup of coffee. So it's all about getting coffee and feeding the dogs and making sure my kids get off to school. Okay, they're high schoolers. But then what I do to get myself like right in the zone is I like have different Pandora stations. I have like a station I like to listen to for like the morning to get myself kind of like in a jazz place. That really helps. I work from home. We're a totally 100% remote team. So I work from home, which means I no longer have a commute. I used to have an hour-long commute. So so I love like just like having that morning time. And I just learned to keep my calendar actually open in the mornings for sales calls. So because I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, so I'm mostly on Pacific. I'm either half on Mountain or half on Pacific, but a lot of our clients are on Eastern time. So I need to actually schedule my one-on-ones, my meeting, all internal meetings if I can in the afternoons. And I want to keep my mornings open for like those closing calls, times I can hop on a call with the rep, help with sales, because it just gives me more capacity in the day when I've got people who are 3 hours ahead of me.
Yeah. So as someone who's not a morning person, do you have like a nightly routine, or where does that kind of fit in? Or do you just kind of say, hey, you know, whatever, I'm good to go?
So sometimes my nightly routine is either one of two things. And if you're into like astrology, I'm a Gemini, which this will make total sense. So like last night's evening routine was I went to hot yoga at 7 o'clock at night after kind of a long day. But there are other days where that could have been a glass of scotch in front of my computer. So it's either one or the other. I think the yoga is healthier for me, but you know, it's all a balance.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome. Well, do we have a question? All right. Well, let's see. You want to read it off?
Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Can you guys hear Sam right now? No? Oh, okay. I'll read off the question. So for Chad's point, can you give some examples of things to keep accountable for? Having a hard time thinking of examples to emulate for the same practice. So yeah, so Chad, talk to us about a few things that you stay accountable for. I know you mentioned a little bit about you and your wife holding each other accountable to get things done, but maybe what are those things that you try and get done every day?
Yeah, I mean, I think some days will vary, right? So it just really depends on. I always look at it more of what happened the day before, right? And then what do I need to improve, not only me, but the team, or whatever it needs to improve on for the next day. And every day with a mindset of how do I get better and better and get the team better and better in what we do. So holding accountability, I mean, it could be, hey, I want to, just spitballing here, but I want to spend 3 hours today making sure I have time with my account executives to do X, Y, and Z. Right. And if I haven't done that, I consider that a personal failure on my side. Right. If I haven't done what I've set out to do that day. So to me, it's just depending on what that needs to be. A lot of it in sales is around specific deals and how do we move things along and things like that. So, but it's the time with the team. It's holding accountable certain deals and how do we progress those along. time with not only my team, but time with other groups within the organization, right? So we have the concept of a go-to-market team, which is customer success and marketing, and how do we work together on a daily basis so we're continuing to drive to that next thing, right? So it could be as easy as, hey, I need to schedule that meeting and have a deeper conversation on how we're going to do an ABX campaign to certain accounts, right? And just getting that ball rolling and constantly moving, I think is extremely, extremely important. But to me, I mean, all that the day is not a failure if I don't accomplish that, if my reps say, I need your help, because I drop everything. If I'm stuck in a meeting or something like that, if they need my help, I will get out of that meeting to go help them, because that to me is the #1 priority, is the success of that team. And so that could completely kill everything I wanted to do for that day. But to me, that's okay. But then I make up for it the following day. So like I said, every day varies, but that's a little bit.
Yeah, that's good. Well, awesome. Does anyone have anything to add? Maybe they thought of while we were going through some of the other panelists? No? All right, sounds good. So the next question, and thank you for that question, David. The next question that I want to jump into is finding work-life balance. I know this is, for me, for a while there early on in my career, I had a really hard time trying to figure out work-life balance. I finally threw in the towel and decided that when I'm at work, I'm 100% at work. And when I'm at home, I'm 100% at home. So I just now don't check email at all when I get home. It's like a black hole. But I do have a few times where I change that rule at like 5-10 minute gaps. But I want to hear your guys' take on that. You know, do you try and do the work-life balance thing? I know a handful of you work at home, so that's got to be really complex. But yeah, Pleasant, do you want to kick this one off?
My view on work-life balance is it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So I'm a single mom, and a single mom that, you know, provides for her girls 100%. So this job is, I love my job. I love my career and I love my girls. So for me, you know, I don't think that it's a time issue. I've given up on that idea as well, because I love this company and I'm a very career-driven person. And I also know that in the position that I'm at, in the company that I'm at, it requires a good investment of time. So for me, it's about quality. And the quality that I put into my job and my role needs to be my best. And the quality that I put into my girls when I'm with them needs to be my best as well. And if they need me there, and the things that are at home when I'm with them, I need to be with them. And that was a real big struggle for me for a very long time, which is being present, because the cell phone's always present in my hand, always, you know, the computer's always there. It's really easy when you're watching a movie to have the laptop out when the girls just kind of want to snuggle, you know what I mean? And so it was a big struggle to be able to separate that, but that was more of an, you know, I will work a little bit longer hours, and my girls understand that, because it's the nature of my job. And I think making people aware that you love, that are in your life, that this is my position, this is what the expectation is. But when you're at home, this is the quality that you're going to get out of me, and you're going to have my best. And I think that's a really important thing to get to people.
Yeah, that's good. Tami, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've spoken quite a bit about work-life balance, and I don't believe in work-life balance, but more of an integration or alignment between the two. I don't think each of them are mutually exclusive, where there's work and life. There are so many different components to life other than just home life. There are different activities, there's working out, there's friends, there's family, there's all these different areas. And I think a balance almost portrays a sense of sedentary, you're not moving when you're in balance. And for me, that integration looks like understanding that if I am at work and I need to dedicate time to a nonprofit cause that I serve on the board for, that's where I'm going to put that time. When I'm at home, I know myself personally, I'm a lot more productive on a Sunday if I am on top of what the deal flow looks like for the week ahead, and I don't step in on a Monday morning all frantic, not knowing what's waiting for me. I also knew going into this, starting a company with a team, that it was a huge sacrifice for what we were doing. And I think it is very different for what stage of life you are at. And there is no prescriptive measure for every one person what that work-life balance. Mine is very different to someone else. And for me, I only have a couple succulents at home that I'm taking care of. I don't have a partner or kids to take care of. So I'm in a very different position to speak on work-life integration, balance, alignment. For me and where I am, I know that I am going to be working exceptionally long hours, and I knew that going into it, to get a company off the ground and scale it with the team. And we all are in very similar situations. So I know that for me to be able to not reach burnout, not absolutely exude or exert all possible excitement and positivity for what I'm doing day to day, I have to take care of myself in different ways. The workouts in the morning, a trainer, a chiropractor. If it makes my life easier to have meal service, I'm going to need to do that so that I can keep dedicating time to the team and finding that so-called alignment.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jen, what's your take on
that point of view? I completely agree with you on the meal service piece, because I think this is a really important thing, especially for balance, is there are things, not just meal service, but I feel like everyone should have the list of things that take away, that you can have someone else help you with or do, and it's just not for you to do. You know, like, I know I can do it, but I could have someone else do it and it'll give me time back in my day. 100%. You want my landscaping? I don't need to do the mulch outside. When someone else can do it much more efficiently and better than myself, and I can spend a whole Saturday doing something that I love, you know. And I think it's a really important thing too, is identifying those things that you can get off your plate.
Yeah, that's good. Jen, I'm going to pass it over to you. What are your thoughts on work-life balance?
I love to work, and I love my life. No, so I'm kind of an always-on type of person, but I agree. It's all about figuring out, you know, what you need to do to make sure that you're fulfilled and that you continue, that you're happy with your job. Because if you're working and you're not enjoying it, or you're feeling like resentful of the time that you're putting in, then obviously that's not a good thing. I found for myself, to make sure I'm taking care of myself, I have to schedule things on my calendar. So I have to make sure I'm planning ahead and scheduling anything from a doctor appointment to a manicure to a Pilates class, right? So I have to schedule that stuff out. And if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen. So I know that about myself, right? So that's really important. The other thing is, now that I work from home, I do have someone clean my house for me once a week, because if my house is not clean, it's like there's an aesthetic, I don't feel like I can work really well. So then that's something else that I don't have to do on the weekends, or I don't have to do at night, and I can instead, you know, binge watch shows with my teenagers, or you know, catch up on some work or what have you. So I think it's just all about really knowing yourself and what you're going to need. I went on a 2-week vacation to Hawaii, and it was awesome. And my CEO said, do not check email, do not check email, do not, you know, don't be looking at messages. I did remove some apps from my phone, so I wouldn't be too distracted, but I did end up checking email, and I don't regret it, because it would have stressed me out more if I didn't just check in. I didn't respond to anything, but it just made me feel like I was more on top of things. Otherwise, I would have been stressed out, wondering like, oh my gosh, like what's happening right now? Yeah,
that's good. Chad, what about you?
Yeah, it's tough because it's so intertwined now, right? You know, your work and life. And so to me, I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I love what I do. I'm very driven. Ambition in the team means so much for me for this to be successful. But I will say the most important things in my life are family, friends, and health, and they come first. And so if something happens to my family, work will be there, and we'll get through it. And I think that's hard for people to think about, right? Because I read something recently that 70% of people who go on PTO don't unplug because they're afraid they're going to be so far behind. And I get that, because I don't completely unplug either. But it's one of those things that you got to get in the mindset of, if you're gone for a day or if you're gone for 2 days, the world doesn't end, right? The world doesn't end. But be available for anything that's a potential fire, right? So for me, I was just on PTO for 3 days, and I would respond to Slack messages or emails if there was something that the team needed or something I knew needed to move along. Outside of that, I might look at something, but it's spending time with my wife because this is the time we have together. So to me, it gets harder and harder to separate, but it's just how you plan out your day and plan out how quickly, and set the expectations too with people that I'm going to be out or I'm going to be doing this, and make sure you do carve that time out for whatever that is, because most likely in a couple hours, it doesn't need to be solved necessarily, whatever that situation might be. So to me, it's more of that type of scenario.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good. All right, and then the final question that we really wanted to talk through here, and before I move on, do we have any questions from the audience? We're good? Okay, awesome. How do you set good career goals? So if you're a rep, you're early on in your career, you want to make it to VP of sales, you feel like you have that in you. How do you set good goals to actually achieve that? Tami, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, I'll talk about a little bit from when I started early in my career. I had this whole mapped out strategy of what role I'm currently in, the role I wanted to get to, and all the way down, and all the skill sets I needed to reach that, and how I was going to get there, and who I was going to get that from. And I'll say that a lot of people who do follow different goals that they map out for themselves, whether it is 6 months short-term goals or long-term, I think it's really important for them to understand how they're going to accomplish those goals. It's one thing putting them down, but there's another element actually executing upon gaining that insight or those skills needed. So who are you looking to learn from? What are you reading? How are you enhancing your own skills without waiting for it to be handed to you on a platter by a manager you already have? There's a lot of self-improvement and a lot of self-growth that you can have. And I will say that with this plan, I had sort of veered off on this plan 2 years ago. I lost my dad unexpectedly, and I had this whole plan mapped out. And I went back to it after a couple of months, and I was like, whoa! I realized in 3 years' time, we would together go to a World Cup. We would go to all these things, and I realized, and then I said, start a company in 2020. And I thought, wow, this is amazing. If I started doing things when opportunities came. I started saying yes to a lot of more opportunities and realizing what is in front of me, not following a prescriptive roadmap for my life or my career, but really being attuned to things that are happening around me and not waiting for a specific date for something to roll around. Or a lot of folks say, well, at 25 or 30 or 40, I should have these different things mapped out in my career. I should have a LinkedIn profile that has multiple scrolls. I should have all these different accomplishments. I should be Forbes 30 under 30. I should be all these different things. And I think that really boxes us into our potential, where we don't have the opportunity to explore what's out there and really go after different things. And I think with me, and I haven't gone back to that spreadsheet since, so I'm 2 years ahead of the starting a company goal. And I think there's a lot more that setting yourself up for success, to understand where you want to go, not just willy-nilly going through life, but not being tied down to a prescriptive roadmap where you think you should be, but really having your eye open on opportunities.
Yeah, that's good. Chad, what are your thoughts on setting career goals? How have you been able to do that?
Yeah, I'm a horrible person to ask about this because I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. My career has taken so many twists and turns. I would have never have told you I would be a VP of sales if you were to ask me when I started my career. So to me, what it's been is what's been key to getting to where I am now and understanding that this is really what I want to do is putting myself out there for different opportunities, right? So for instance, I started my career as a sales development rep for an outside agency, very call center, cutthroat approach. And I moved my career and I left there. I was like, you know what, I'm never going to run a team in that type of environment. And so I started then dipping into marketing. I ran marketing for a while, and then I went into marketing operations and I ran that for a while. And then I was like, you know what, I'm really interested in sales. So I got into sales operations and started just tipping my toe in a lot of different areas to really, one, to get a lot of experience that's helps valuable. So when we talk about earlier about the go-to market function with marketing, customer success, all that, I understand the business, right? I understand that because I've got the experience. I've played in those spaces. I know how to align those things. So that's been really good. But also, I started my own company. So before I used to be at Linkit. Before I was at Linkit, I had started my own consulting firm. And so having all those different experiences and trying those things out has really got me to a point where like, I really love what I do now. I'm meant to be a VP of sales, right? But I can also help a lot of other people grow their career and get them experience in different areas as they come into an organization. And so to me, again, a lot of crazy twists and turns. And it's not, I'm a list person, but I don't have it like documented out. This is where I want to be necessarily in my career, because I think I am where I want to be. And this is where I want to be. And so to me, it's just getting those right experiences and trying the right things out to make sure, hey, is this, where do you belong? Right? I guess is the right thing. And you know, from all that, you know, I can tell I belong in the sales world.
Yeah. So a quick follow-up question on that. You know, do you believe that there is a linear, you know, career path from SDR to VP of sales for a salesperson? Or do you think they have to explore other parts of the business before they, you know, move to VP?
No, I think there's a career path. Now it's not a quick career path by all means, but if you set the right career path and the right goals for anybody, it doesn't matter what the role is, the answer is yes, it can be that way. And I think I mentioned before that when I get a team, my most important thing to me is how to get them so successful that one day they take over my role. And that it's not necessarily just an account executive. That could be a sales development rep, right? Like, how can I get them and further their career, get them so successful to get there? Because I started as a sales development rep. Yeah, I did those other different areas, but even if I would have gone straight the sales path, I still believe from the drive that I had that I could get to where I am today. So you have to have that drive. You have to put that effort in. You have to become an expert in what you do and what you're trying to accomplish. And no matter what your role is, you can do it. So I'm not saying don't set that end goal. You definitely want to set that end goal, but for me, it was just a different path, right? Others probably is going to be a lot more of a linear path.
Yeah, that makes sense. Jen, what about you? Are you a goal setter, or, you know, how have you been able to kind of guide your career and shape that?
So, I mean, I think we can all agree. I don't think anyone ever, you know, grew up saying, I want to lead sales for a team, right? This is not something we like us do, you know, right? I wanted to be a theater critic. I don't know about you guys. For the New York Times, I don't know. But you know, and I think like what I've learned, and this is very common, like for what other people have shared, is saying yes and looking for opportunities. So one of the best life decisions I ever made is I took a chance and stepped away from teaching to take a position with a nonprofit regional professional theater company. And working for a nonprofit, there's a lot of work to be done, and there's a lot of opportunity to learn, and it's kind of sink or swim. By the time I left there after 8 years, I was running sales and marketing and responsible for $7 million in revenue. And there was, like, in theory, nothing about my background on paper that would have said that I should have that job. So it was all about kind of being there and learning on the ground. So I tried to use that as I made other decisions, and I've changed my career and moved into B2B, and now I'm working for an agency, which I had never done before. I never thought I wanted to do, but you start to realize kind of like where you have gaps and where you can grow, and kind of look for those opportunities. And I've tried to look for places, organizations, and leaders who have something that can add to like my repertoire and that's going to fulfill me. So that's really like the path that I've chosen to take. As far as where I'm gonna go, I don't know, because I have no idea. I had no idea that I would even be in this place right now. I do have like I don't know if it's a disagreement or kind of like an addendum amendment to like something that Chad said, which is I think a lot of organizations make the mistake in thinking that any sales rep should want to be a sales leader. And I don't, and one of the things I've learned as I've worked with different sales professionals, I've worked with SDRs and account execs, is they'll say to me, yep, I want to be a director of sales, I want to be VP. And we start getting into the why. And I feel like an obnoxious 5-year-old, why? Like, what are you getting to? And ultimately, they just really want to make money is what it comes down to, because that's what drives them. And they think they're going to make more money as a sales leader. And I'm like, you know what? You're not going to. So just being really clear on having good open communication with your team, so you really understand what they're really looking for, because they might tell you, hey, yeah, I want your job. I want to be this leader. And if you really start to dig and you find out why and what actually motivates them, you might uncover something a little bit different. So I'm all about like picking and like trying to figure out psychologically what is going to really make them happy, and honestly what they're going to be good at, because just because you're like a killer rep doesn't mean you're going to be a great leader.
And real quick, 100% agree with what Jen's saying there, right? I mean, it's understanding what everybody wants to do and then digging into what does that really mean? Because I don't think when people think they want to be in management or a VP, sometimes they don't really know what's really going on, right? I mean, there's been days in my career I'm like, oh my God, I just really wish I was an individual contributor again. Like I really like there's a lot that goes into it. That's not for everybody, right? And so, and 100% on making more money as a VP of sales, that's not necessarily the case, right? And so, it's really understanding why, and then if it's truly meant to be, then how do you help them get there, right? But I agree with you. There's, not everybody in sales is meant to be a manager.
Yeah. Pleasant, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I have a story, but I gotta show you guys something from my story. So hold on.
I like how she has inspirational goals in the background there.
Yeah.
That was
perfect.
That was my Mother's Day present.
Like, what do I?
And one of them is to have a Great Dane farm, and to have a house on the beach, on the mountains, and on the islands. I don't know whose goals they are. I don't know if I'm a Great Dane farm. I do. All right, so I'm big on goals too, and so it's interesting. My CR or SVP of revenue, he led revenue for the Robbins Corporation. That's where he came from. So goals for us that's a big deal. And I was really fortunate to go to see Tony Robbins a couple of years ago when I was getting started. And one of the biggest things that I learned with goals is that it's really easy to plan them out, and it's really easy to set a path for yourself, to identify what you need to do to get there. But the biggest thing that gets in your way is yourself. And there's a lot of things that people don't identify and take the time to identify early on, and what can get in their way, what can block them, even things personally and internally that's going to stop you from believing that you can even get there. And it's really, really critical to map those out as well and to do it. And so we do, like at our company, every year when we get together for our SKO, we do like our board breaking, which is like super fun. And so the whole company will do it. They'll write down their goals, and then they'll write down what could or keep you from hitting those goals that year. And then everyone breaks through their boards. I mean, nobody leaves without breaking through their board. And if everyone does it with their hand, if it doesn't happen, you're going to do it through your foot, but you're breaking through this crap, and you're going to get to your goals. So I keep these in front of me. Like I had one from a couple years, but my story is the second piece to it is that you should also imagine yourself and like think about it and have the vision for yourself of what it's going to look like to accomplish your goals. And so when I was a seller, I've been with this company with Outreach for 3.5 years. When I remember after my first year selling, I went up to Matt, again, our SVP, and I said, he was taking a picture with all of his leadership team. And I came out, I said, Matt, I want you to know next year, I'm going to be in that picture because I'm going to be on your leadership team. And he smiled. I said, okay, Pleasant. I said, I'm just telling you, I was your top rep this year. I'm going to be on your leadership team next year. And the next year, I was on his leadership team, and this is the role I'm in now. So that's like super important to me. Is when you have goals, you have to identify what's going to stop you from getting there, and be really real with yourself, because you tend to get in your own way. And then you have to envision yourself where you're going to be and tell somebody that, like brag about it. You know, if you're going to be a top rep, tell your competitor, you know, that you are going to be beating them that year. And on the President's Club stage, getting the award, you know, envision yourself there and work towards that goal instead of just keeping it on paper and keeping it to yourself.
Yeah, that's really good. I think we have a few questions from the audience really quickly I'm going to jump into. So the first one is, how do you motivate people that are under you who don't yet share the same passion? So it looks like we're talking about motivating our reps. So how do you guys go about motivating reps? Is it, you know, goals? That board is pretty cool. It sounds like it's kind of like a company motivation. But, you know, what do you do just in one-on-ones to keep people motivated? Let's see. Who wants to take this one first? Anyone have a?
So I'll share a funny story. So I mean, I think this goes back to what I had shared previously, but I think it's all about knowing what's going to drive somebody. So this is a few companies ago. So we had we had some aggressive goals, and we had some big stretch goals that we wanted to hit. So we were asking each rep, what do you want? Like, what is like this one thing that you would love to have like as a gift, And we heard everything from like a trip to Disneyland, to with my family, to like a baby grand piano, like what they wanted. One of our reps, he wanted a jersey with like a branded like jersey with the company jersey with his name on the back.
That's awesome.
And that's what you want. So like people are asking for a trip, and you know what? He hit his goal. He got that jersey. It was like awesome. So like, don't make assumptions about what you think your team wants. Like just flat out like ask, like, what is this one thing? And man, like the last day of the month, he came into the office every day wearing his jersey. It was like a point of pride. You never know what's gonna like shake someone's tree.
That is awesome. That's a really good idea. I might have to take that one. That's really cool. Chad, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, Jen, when you talk about, everybody might be motivated by different things, right? So understanding what that is. But, some of the things that we do here, the team we have are motivated for making money. I mean, that's just what it is. But we do a lot of monthly competitions. We do a lot of weekly incentives, things like that. And so, and we make it fun, right? So you get something for first, second, and then third place. You don't want to get third place because we're going to make you, wash cars or whatever that might be. But one of the things we did last year, and we're replicating again this year to motivate people, is the person on our team for the Q3 who has delivered the most annual contract value above their quota gets a billboard in their hometown of whatever they want. So it could be, last year we had one of our reps had his face on Peyton Manning's body in downtown Nashville, which I would never pick that. No offense to Tennessee fans or Indianapolis Colts fans, but it's just to see people get excited about things like that. Like I would never have thought about that in my career in the past, right? But that is something that really motivates people. So doing those little things really does inspire and get people to not only try go that extra mile, but it's a healthy competition between everybody else on the team, right? They're always egging each other on and also being very supportive, and that really keeps the team environment motivated and inspired as well.
That is awesome. President, what do you think?
I think it's when we find that we're not motivated, specifically to this question, someone that's not motivated. I think there's a lot of things that we do as a team to build the motivation, the culture, the steps. But when you particularly have someone on your team that's not motivated, it's usually because they're not doing well. And there's an area that they're struggling, and maybe they're not performing. And there's somewhere that you're trying to get them to up their game. So I think it's really important, first off, that you have to celebrate their wins and help them understand their strengths and make a big deal about those with them, and always understand the positives and the negatives, and what you're, in teaching, we always, the adding or subtracting. Are you adding jars? Are adding marbles in their jars? Or are you taking them out? I was a teacher too, Jen. So, it's always about adding and subtracting. And I think also, I steal everything, by the way, from everybody. So our VP of Sales, Mark, what he taught me was it's not about planning for somebody about how to help them improve, which usually decreases motivation. Like I could be super motivated to get the job done or to make improvements in one area, and I'm going to have a great plan to help you do that as well. It's about helping someone identify a plan for themselves or find the path to get there, because if you're in sales, you want to be successful. And if you don't want to be successful, or you have someone that's like, I'm okay not being, get them off the team and manage them out. But if they really are there to want to win, then help them to identify what plan they know that they can commit to. And your job is to keep them accountable and to keep them motivated and be that support for them. But a lot of times they lose motivation because they're working off of our plans, not necessarily what their desire is to do. So that's fine.
Yeah, that's good. Tami, do you have any thoughts?
No, to everyone's point, everyone is motivated in a different way. Not everyone is motivated by the same things or the same value of things. So truly taking the time to understand what each person does well and their communication style that both suits how they are motivated, that will also serve not only them but the company goals as well, is really important.
Yeah, that's good. Well, guys, we're running out of time. We've got one more question, so we'll have to go through this one quickly. But the question is, without having such an awesome manager without having such an awesome manager as this panel, how can someone take the journey to uncover the why for themselves? Okay, so if you don't have a manager coaching you along, how do you discover your why when it comes to your sales career? Jen, do you want to kick this one off? Because I know you had a career outside of sales, so you kind of have both perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how do you know what you want? I think one thing is meeting with other people, getting exposure. It could be things as little as having lunch with people in other departments in your own organization, or going to networking events and having real authentic experiences, not just where people are like talking about how great they are or how great their life is, but like hear the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you can learn a lot about what the day-to-day life of other people in other parts of the business might be. So I think just being open and listening is really, really powerful. I would also say, we have a lot of noise. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of like thought leaders and social hackers who are talking about what you need to do and when, and it's easy to get swept up in all of that. I think if you like take some time, kind of like check your own pulse, right? Figure out what you really enjoy. Think about like in your day, what are the types of activities you actually like love doing, and what are the things that you don't love doing as much? So if you tend to not love all of your administrative tasks, and that's like a real drain on you, like that's going to be a big part of a leadership role. So you just want to have that, like, just have those honest gut checks with yourself. But I think exposure to other people, both within your organization and outside, can be really helpful in guiding you along that path.
Yeah, that's good. Does anyone want to give some closing thoughts on that one?
I would just say, put yourself out there, right? Just kind of goes to Jen's point is, don't wait for somebody to come to you if you don't have that manager. I mean, go out there, whether it's internal, external. To this day, I still have a mentor that is external to my company that I've had for years. And we make sure we meet on a, if nothing else, every other month basis for coffee, lunch, whatever it is. And so I can just, sanity check, right? And understand like, hey, what am I potentially doing wrong, or what could I do better? And I think you got to put yourself out there and be proactive about it. And that will take you quite far if you do that.
Yeah.
It's really important to explore other areas of sales as well, because it's amazing all of the different types of sales that you can get yourself involved in. And there are so many people that are great fits for some and great fit for others, and that you really thrive in. And we've had people that are great in some roles and some that are not, and so that's an important piece too.
Yeah. Tami, do you have any thoughts before we close out?
No, I think it's important that when you are reaching out to someone, not just to pick their brain or to have coffee with them, but to go in with a true list of what you want to learn from them and say, this is what I'm coming into the conversation with. Can you help me on these 3 things? And follow up with them. As much as you reach out for folks and their advice or pick their brain, whatever it may be intentional about your follow-up as well. It's really important that you give them progress reports or progress updates on, hey, thank you for your advice on these different areas. This is what I've done about it. What do you think would be the next steps to take? Or from here, where do you think I should go? Or who is the next person that I should speak to? But not only ask about it, but connect and truly engage and be thoughtful and intentional about your follow-through.
Yeah, that's good. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that the audience has as well. It's been a great conversation. So, guys, everyone who's joined, thank you so much. Next week, not next week, but next month. Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're doing Women Takeover Call Camp, and Steve's going to be back. He's not a woman, but he will be there, helping to break down real sales calls. So. We'll be kind of back into the normal call camp vibe of breaking down calls, but this call camp has definitely been fun to get to moderate this panel and kind of hear about what you guys have done to make a successful sales career. So thank you guys so much. Have a great week, and we'll see everyone next month. Bye, guys.
Bye.